Welcome back to the end. Last time I made my way all the way to the north. This here is Prox, which I mistakenly referred to as Prost in the previous episodes. I suppose because it's frost, it's icy. Prost, frost. It makes sense in my mind. Prox is the village that Agatio and I think Karst, yes, brought Felix to in the beginning of the first game. If you remember the events from the first game, you were a child, they kidnapped you. As part of their kidnapping, they brought you here, they raised you along with your parents. Your parents also here, but your parents prisoners. The whole point was to get you to help them light the lighthouses. Then they were killed by... what's his name? Isaac and his crew at the end of the first game. Similarly to that, you'll see when we go into the Mars Lighthouse, it has a lot of the same themes as the Venus Lighthouse. I don't mean musically. The wise one is once again up to all of his shenanigans, so we're going to have to deal with him through the course of this. There isn't really much for you in the way of exploring here in Prox. It is the last village in the game, so everything's expensive. There aren't any real new artifacts you can have a look at. Everything they've got is stuff I basically sold to them previously. If you didn't get good rolls like I did eventually off of the unique items like these materials here, then you might actually go through a bit of trouble in Mars Lighthouse. There are a lot of really strong enemies. As you can see here, I'm getting rid of my materials. As soon as I get the teleport synergy in Mars Lighthouse, I'm going to bail. At which point I'll give you a signal. You can go over to the other video 16 I believe, which is just me hunting for the remaining Jinn and the unique summons, which are in the optional dungeons. That took me a while. It turns out, as much as I've been grinding, I am still not quite strong enough to beat the optional bosses. Eventually I did figure out how, and the easiest way is just to spam summons for most of them. The final boss is actually a lot stronger than I remember it being, since the optional bosses aren't even that much stronger than it. One of the things I remember about a lot of these JRPGs, they have optional bosses that tend to be a lot stronger than the final boss, just as an extra challenge for people who enjoy playing the game for longer. It's why a lot of them tend to have a New Game Plus or an extended feature, or once the game is over you get to continue to run around. So you beat the final boss, you get experience or loot or money, and then you get to come out of that fight and continue exploring the game. If you remember in Final Fantasy X, it was the Dark Aeons. Maybe I'll do a playthrough of Final Fantasy X as well, but a lot of people have already finished that game. Ooh, I also remembered to actually slow down on my skipping. Mostly. So these two just explained that I, Terra, have come back to find my parents, but my parents are missing. Since Mars Lighthouse is being lit, they don't need to hold on to my parents anymore. I've done what they needed me to do, so my part of the deal is complete, so they needed to free my parents. Now I'm finding out that my parents are missing. Here we go. The mayor of this village is basically saying, yeah, I'm gonna go out there on my own. Ha! Elder shutting down this poor old guy. So I remember playing the first one, but I still have no idea who these two guys are. They're like the leaders of Prox, but we're supposed to know who they are. I understand why Felix would know who they are, because in-game he spent most of his life here. But I don't actually remember spending any time with these people in the story. The first one or the second one. Kraden is just defending Barda for killing their strongest fighters. Okay, what he's saying here is actually funny. Because when you fight Saturos and Minari at the beginning of at the end of the first game, the Wise One turned them into a giant two-headed dragon. You fight them normally and all, but they turned into a giant two-headed dragon. I distinctly remember them turning into a giant two-headed dragon. And then you have to fight them again. Then, after you cut their giant dragon heads off, they drop themselves into the opening of Venus Lighthouse, which is unfortunate. I felt really bad about that. Okay, technically we've climbed 2 lighthouses. 3, really? No, we've only climbed 1. Yeah, Kraden wasn't there for the others. Don't like Kraden. So this is just me making sure that you can see everything that's happening to this poor town. I didn't realize that Piers was haunted. I don't know what haunt does, but I know it's a curse, so get rid of it. Boop. 50 coins. I have no need for money. Actually, what's odd, because I never really died in this game, I never showed you what happens when you die. I still don't. I beat the final boss, I beat all the people without really dying. But, ooh, this is it. Here we go. Mars Lighthouse. It is covered in ice. And just like most puzzle games, the dungeon is set up that you can use the dungeon itself to get rid of the obstacles that shouldn't exist in the dungeon. Oh yeah, I can't do anything here until I have the Mars Star. And I can only get the Mars Star from Karst and Gatio? Yes, Karst and Gatio. And they're also somewhere in the tower. They were on their way up. Up. It's like the first mimic I didn't see coming. He gave me a cookie. Don't eat cookies you find in dungeons, kids. They are most likely not healthy. Ooh, you should see how much experience these birds give you. One of the things I do when I grind later on is I fight a bunch of these down in an optional dungeon. But advanced versions. These things give you almost 4 or 5 grand experience a pop. Yeah, it's another puzzle we're going to have to get to. So, just like most sections, the Mars Lighthouse section is one of the most difficult. It does take me a lot less time, technically, than Jupiter Lighthouse did, but that's only because I included the boss fight and the story aspects at the end of Jupiter Lighthouse when I was doing that video. In this one, I'm putting the end of the game as a separate video, so that you can just watch the dungeon in this one. What I like about the designs in this game is it's almost always immediately clear which synergy you have to use when you see a different thing. If you see cracks, you know to use burst. If you see a little round rock, you know to use carry. If you see something wedge-shaped, like those pillars at the beginning, at the end of Lemuria, you know you need to use grind. And by combining different synergies in different puzzle rooms, you know how to get through the different sections. So how this one started, you saw you needed to grind the top of that iceberg, which grew so rapidly it cracked a hole through the ceiling somehow. And you need to use burst here to break the now cracked glacier, which just shatters the whole thing. Alright, here we go. So that groove on the floor there is for this is why you farm these birds. The one can always bring back the other. If you do it right, you can actually get 900,000 experience from some of them. Not so much, that would be a lot of grinding. You can actually get 90,000 experience from one battle. I did manage to do this quite a few times later on, and I got all my people above level 50, almost level 60. Just grinding those birds and their friends and inside the optional dungeon. So this is a bit of a slog. You have to avoid the fire from knocking you off the side of the platform while moving the statue all the way over to the side. So you can't stand in its way, it's going to knock you down to the side and you have to start over. It's recommended that you actually set move to one of your LOR keys. Oop, I got knocked on my butt. It's actually recommended that you set LOR to one of your move synergies in the event that you can actually use it more quickly without having to pause or without having to wait. And it is actually beneficial to get through this as quickly as possible. Pushing it is the best. Try not to push it more than twice or the head will swing back on you. The closer you get to the end, the fewer times you actually can move it before the head reaches you. As you can see here, I'm panicking a little because I don't want to start over again. Once you get to this point with the little platform, you can actually safely move it as many times as you want. The fire will hit you, but it will only knock you onto that little platform. Yo, I'm going to move it. I'm going to show you. Fire hits you, you get knocked to the platform, and it's fine. You just have to make sure you don't let the fire hit you when you're not near one of those platforms. You'll have to start over, it's a whole hassle, not really worth it. So yeah, I could have just pushed it. Also remember, you can use move from one square away. So in that position I was in, I could have moved it a second time using just my synergy, and it would have been fine. Once again, letting the fire hit me, so you can see there's nothing wrong with getting hit by the fire in this position. It's only just after and just before that you have to worry about. This last one is also a big hassle. Don't let the fire hit you. It's home stretch here. That little groove in the floor there will prevent the statue from ever moving again, unlike in the treasure island, where for some reason you have to keep doing the puzzle every time you go through it. Not a big fan of that. So all the dragon heads in this lighthouse are powered by fire, and you have to use the synergy from magma rock to light most of them, like this. You use blaze on the fire, it lights that little torch, and then the giant dragon head spits a fireball. Okay, so I'm busy being hit by a fireball from one of these aforementioned giant dragon heads. Just going to set pound here. You have to make space for yourself so you can run down this gauntlet without getting hit by the fireballs. So I was expecting that particular bird to revive its friend, but it doesn't always do it. It's good to be safe. If you're playing on an emulator, it's best to use the onboard save function just to sort of re-roll in case one of the birds tries to run. They run a lot and it does hurt your experience gain. But every time they're revived, they count as a new entity and can be farmed for more experience. The primary idea being when you run into a group of 2 of them, you kill one, let it be revived, then you kill it again. If one of them manages to run, you load, then you repeat the process. It doesn't work in a onboard save state, so if you're trying to farm using basic save functions, it's not going to work. So I do remember mentioning these puzzles in a previous video. I think the one in... was it Aqua Rock? Oh no, it was in the Chandaria Tower. And this one is clever in that it uses another puzzle from that tower. You actually have to move that statue because it's in the way. When you move the statue, you give yourself a better leverage point. Which allows you to go here. Then you wail on him. Always remember, I know I say this every time I fight a Jinn, but it's very important. Don't bind a Jinn synergy. It will run immediately. Jinn have no other attacks but synergy, and if they can't use synergy, they bail, and they bail quickly. So this is the teleport lapis. For some reason it looks like dark matter. I feel like that's a reference to something. But this is it. So I'm probably going to load both videos immediately after one another. Once I use the synergy here. I'm actually using up all my hard nuts. I don't know where I saved these all from. I think they came with the save game. So this teleport synergy, once equipped, allows you to manipulate these portals. This is the breaking point. So I have escaped, done other stuff, and come back here. You can see my health is much higher than it was 10 seconds ago, and that's because I left. At this point, right there where the teleport started, you are allowed to leave. And then you can come back to this video. If you want to. If you want to see it in the order I did it in. It's not necessary though. I do leave again a bit later, once I get the other Mars Gen that's inside of the tower. I think I wait for that before I leave. But with the teleport synergy, it opens up a lot of optional dungeons that you wouldn't have been able to get through otherwise. Including the Iris dungeon. One of the things I got was a weapon that Jenna's currently using. See, there's the little Mars buddy. I'm here to find him. So don't worry about that cut there. I left. Once I realized that I was a bit confused, I left. So I'm still a bit confused yet, don't mind me. Not really super sure what I'm supposed to be doing, so I'm just wandering around at the moment. I'll figure it out. Just give me a chance, I'll figure it out. Something I don't really remember is that there was a spot where I could slide on the ice and I could go off in a different direction. But I'll get back there. I do have a tendency to get lost in the towers very easily. I think you remember from the first time. Yep, just trying anything I can. If you want, you can skip ahead in the video. I'm going to be thinking about this one for a little while. Here we go. Doing my best. Figuring stuff out. So I ran there a little because I got excited because I found out where to go. Ta-da! Yeah, it's kind of weird that one fire blast is enough to crack it, but you can't hit it with multiple fire blasts to break it. No, sir. Sometimes it's just like watching the animation. The fireball animation is very cool. So as usual, you come down here, use burst, get rid of the cracked glacier. I believe I just set it for my R button. Aha. Remember what I said about the reveal pattern? Here is where you combine two synergy at once. And you get some orichalcum here, orichalcum. So if I'd run back through this way, where I used that fireball to destroy the dragons, to see the dragon's fireball again, I would have gotten the orichalcum and I wouldn't have had to drop down like that. It saved myself a bit of adventuring is what I mean. Not all adventuring is necessary. Don't waste your time. Capitalize on time when you have it. Do things while you're in the area. Ooh, this is a fun puzzle. You kind of have to set yourself up as best as you can, or you're actually going to suffer. As soon as you drop onto that little button there, it opens up a way for you to get through here. But that dragon head is going to light this flame and throw a fireball at you. As usual, the fireball will knock you backwards and then down a pit. Oh yes, something else you didn't really see me do. I got a bunch of cursed gear for Piers, using all the dark matter I found. You have to give him the cleric ring that you get from the first game. The cleric ring negates all curses. If you have a full set of cursed gear, you can actually give it all to one character and then just give them the cleric ring. They'll be super cursed, but the cleric ring will basically nullify the curse. Make it super fine for them to wear. Set pound to a L or R key for this puzzle. If you want to, you can always set it back. The time it takes to pound actually lets this thing get ahead of you, so they had to make its route a bit more circuitous so that it wouldn't insta-kill you. Stick to the upper path, don't go down. It is just a bit faster. Down is where all the pitfalls are. Don't waste time, go straight to the door. So having learned from the previous encounter, I went in the opposite direction of where the teleport would have taken me. And good thing too, Because if I'd used teleport first, I would have ended up here and gotten blindsided by a fireball. Now you can teleport. Thank you, Piers. No fireball. Totally safe to come through. Ooh. Don't jump directly onto the ice. You'll slide right off and fall to your death. Like this, see? Ice is bad for you. But this is the Soul Blade. It is very good for you. The only people who can use the Soul Blade are Earth Adepts. What it does is it drops a meteor on a person. It is stronger than most synergy, so attacking bold-facedly with just your sword is better than using even Odyssey. There we go. Not that their equipment really matters. There's nothing I can get for them that's stronger than what they have. You know, watch. I'm going to slide off. Right down the hole. Yeah, so that was it. That was Megiddo. That is the howl unleashed by the Soul Blade. I don't know if I ever actually slowed down to show you exactly what it looks like, because I speed through battles in general, but during the final battle I should actually show you what it looks like. See, 5,800 experience for one bird. Most teams of 3 enemies only give you like 1,000 experience. Ooh, so this is them. A pair of dragons ready to be killed. I forgot I changed burst. There we go. So at this point I'm setting all their Jinn for primarily one reason. During my escape I did a lot of really fun exploration. As part of that exploration I came here. I got a bunch of optional summons, and now I'm going to use them on these bosses here. Yeah, get ready for that. Here they come. They are Mars aligned, so try not to use too much Mars Jinn against them. It won't really work. Using Mars Jinn in general. Mercury works wonders. It'll do much more damage. So I think you've seen Eclipse already. What you haven't seen is Daedalus. So this is Catastrophe. You get this from one of the 3 optional dungeons. This and Daedalus. It looks very similar to Judgment, except it's much more deadly. I thought it would do more damage. That's fine. Can always get a better look at it later. Yeah, hit them with that ice dude. See, because it's Mercury, it's a Mercury attack, they take more damage from it. So this is your first clue about who these 2 dragons really are. And there's only one enemy in the game who can use Meteor Blow. Yeah, I completely forgot I gave them no healing abilities. So he's screwed. Yeah, do whatever you can, man. Yep, dead. What a shame. And now she can't move, and she was my healer. Oh, something to remember? Ah, here we go. So that missile belongs to Daedalus. When you summon him, he fires a bunch of small missiles and one big missile. The big missile takes about 2 turns to come through. So it's important to revive your allies. If you don't revive your allies, they don't get experience from the fight. Mega cool. I like that. I like that I have mega cool now. Yep, and once again, Megiddo saves the day. Deals 800 damage. Crazy. Yeah. This is the exact same twist that happened at the end of the first game. You fight a dragon, and it turns out the dragon was actually these 2 idiots. They think they're gonna die. I'm pretty sure they survive, but you don't see them again. Apparently they wait to die until you light the beacon. So once you light the beacon, then it's implied that they're dead. So they're not dead yet. They're very much alive. They have no spark of life, so you can't use blaze on them. I'm kidding, you can't do that on anybody. What I don't like so much is, in the first game, the optional dungeon was great. It had a bunch of different floors, and each floor needed different synergy you learned throughout the game. Each one had a special little boss you fought, and then one really big boss at the end. But its optional loot was terrible. There was just one piece of cursed armor. But it was a ton of fun. I'll never really forget it, because it was where most of the best planning was. Dark sword. They had statues that attacked you if you didn't use cloak. They had things that moved if you didn't use halt on them. Every piece of synergy you learned was necessary for completing a different mysterious dungeon. And I feel like this game really lacked something similar. The lighthouses are much better, all the puzzles are effectively better. Ride that wave. Then you drop down a pit. But nothing's quite as cool as that mysterious treasure island. Not really sure I want to come through here. I can't remember if it's necessary or not. I don't believe so. But another important thing to do is, if you are planning on playing this alongside this walkthrough, watch the walkthrough then play. Just to double check that I'm not wandering around aimlessly again. like I did earlier. Which, as you know, I tend to do quite a lot. If I'm aware enough, I'll normally make a cut so that you don't see me wander around aimlessly, but I miss it more often than I'd like to admit. Which is a lot. Yes, all of that was meaningless. Now that the lighthouse is back up and running, all these things have flames again. Yeah, don't worry about this one. It's meant to be symmetrical, but it doesn't actually have any... It's not linked to anything. I honestly suggest using a void in most of these cases. Here we go. I'm going to collect you. I know he's not talking to me. Oh wow, caught me off guard. And that's it. This is the last Ginny. Or at least the last one in this game. So in the other video, there was a point where I told you to come back. Make use of that now. Or rather, in a bit. There's this point here, where I get this Djinn, is where I decide that I'm going to run away again. So at the end of all of this, I effectively go back to that other video. This is it. This is the last section of this dungeon. Once you complete these 4 challenges, it opens up the way to the beacon. Once I do that, I'm going to end this video. And that's going to be the last of it. You can go back to the Djinn and Summon Hunt video again. At that point, preferably, but leaving now is also fine. Or if you finish watching that video, then I guess we're gonna see the end soon. I did set it up so that that video took place sort of midway through this video until I beat the Sentinel, and the rest of it took place after I beat the Wizard. So I'm gonna leave here, go beat the Wizard, go beat the optional dungeon in Contigo, and when that's done, I'm going to come back here. Once I have Lilith and Azul, then I'll also have Daedalus and Catastrophe. I already have Daedalus and Catastrophe here, because as soon as I got teleport, I teleported out of here, and used teleport to get those 2 summons. With that, I came back here, used the serious amount of grinding I did to floor all of these enemies, beat this section of the dungeon, and then I left again. So this is a big pause. Didn't really expect I'd finish the game so quickly. But it's almost time. You're welcome to skip ahead. I'm not sure how long this pause is actually going to go on for. I didn't really spot it while I was editing the video, so most of this is just, I guess, tea break. In the fire section, This is the closest this game gets to that special dungeon in the first one. Each part of the Mars Lighthouse, for some unknown in-game reason, is linked to a different element. And they have their own different uses of the synergy you learn throughout your travels to get you through it. Always give it to your weakest person. Ooh, so that remaining circlet, you can actually give that to the blonde boy from the previous team. I didn't realize that when I played the game. I just remember that now. But if you happen to still be using that circlet like I was, you can give it to the blonde boy. He also wears circlets, and he's also a wind adept, so it works out quite well. If I remember correctly, the Clarity Circlet gives you bonus wind power. Not that he ever uses his energy, because he doesn't fight, but if he were to fight, then that would help him. So don't get burned in your butt while you're doing this, like I nearly was there. It can't hurt you in any meaningful way, but it is a bit of a pain. It takes a little bit of health off from each of your people. Because it's fire. That's what fire does. So this puzzle's a bit of a pain as well. It's a lot of pushing and a lot of running around, a lot of finding the right way through things. So this is essentially a gas pipeline. The gas itself being combustible to some degree. You have to push all these respective things around so that you can complete the pipeline to send gas to where it needs to go, where it will help you get to the next section. Since this is the fire tower, ooh, actually, I managed to catch it. Here we go. See, you just hit a meteor at a dude, and that's it. Wonder how it does so much damage? It's a meteor. Meteors do a lot of damage. What's funny to me is that does about as much damage as the actual meteor synergy, like the summon meteor. Except it's not. I believe it's supposed to be earth powered, so it's not fire powered, this particular meteor. Because it doesn't have an elemental alignment, it doesn't have any weaknesses. It doesn't suffer a reduction in power like others tend to. If you happen to equip your redhead girl with, say, if you happen to equip your redhead girl with this Lysaron's Edge, which is a special sword you actually get somehow. I think it's a special drop from a certain enemy. Have her attack someone different from whoever's got the Soul Blade. The Soul Blade does the most damage with its howl, and its howl happens almost constantly. So if she attacks someone else, it'll maximize the amount of damage she generally does to all the people. Yes, go through there. So the point of this is you're supposed to close the pipeline. Now I'm supposed to run. Let's get out of there. So there's no point in dealing 1,200 damage to one enemy. So split your damage differences. Give some damage to one person, give less damage to another person. It's... Yes. So one thing that does make sense is at the top of each of these towers, you use blaze to light that panel. I thought it would be cool if you had to use the special synergy you learned for each different element at the top of each different tower. Then I remembered this is Mars Lighthouse, that makes no sense. So the game designers are smarter than I am. Good for them. So that was book 1, Fire. Not to be confused with Avatar's book 3, Fire. I missed a big opportunity to have this run in the same sequence as Avatar, but I didn't think of it then. So I'm equipping Frost, and I'm equipping Parch. Only Frost will be used. Dragon Fume, Searing Beam. I've pretty much learned the strongest versions of most synergy. The only one I haven't learned yet is Grand Gaia, which I'm a little sad about. Grand Gaia is my favorite one. It's Grand Gaia. For him it's Mega Cool. I quite like Mega Cool. For her it's Searing Beam. And Spark Plasma is quite cool as well. This one's tough. Don't swing down. Swinging down is dangerous. I'm pretty sure there's a way to get through all of this without swinging down ever. There you go. Oh, I haven't set up the... Yes. So you first have to get through this section here. Almost got it. Yep, you went down. Not quite. Oh, now you gotta go down again. So this one is trippy. Don't ask me why I did that. Yes, I do have tunnel vision. I have not yet realized that I need to go through the door in the back there. There is a door in the back there, though. Then you have to use some tricky freezing. Feel free to reset it when you want to. No shame. So, just in case you're curious, fire, it will melt these ice blocks, but you need these ice blocks to block the poles when you push them. See? Instantly melted. So break this one, very important, so you can freeze this one. Now you see the problem. I did not think of this. Bap. You don't actually have to do this one first, but it is recommended, since you can do the other two without even touching that one. So you push this one first, then you freeze it, and you push the top one first. Push the top one first, because otherwise if you push the bottom one first, it's just going to melt it again. Then you head through. After you head through the first time, don't run back into the room. I'm pretty sure it resets all the pillars. Then you have to do the whole puzzle over again. That was Golden Sun Book 2, Water. So similar to how Jupiter Lighthouse had 2 little towers that you had to go up, complete little puzzle to get through, Mars has 4. Because the designers of the lighthouses knew whoever would be lighting them would go to this one last. I believe they were prophets. See, I did this completely out of order. Book 3 was supposed to be fire, Book 2 was supposed to be earth, Book 1 was supposed to be water. But, on the plus side, I did save air for last. Which would have been fine, but there was no Book 4 air. While there could have been, but since Aang already knew airbending, there was no need for him to learn it again, if you know what I mean. And so of these 3, 2 of them have little flamey dragons behind them. I pulled the wrong one so quickly. I'm very bad at it. Well, I guess except there. Yay me. Haha. Okay, so this requires another synergy from the first game. This is carry. Again, because I didn't play the first game, I didn't understand how carry worked. Then you move it over. Then you push this one. So this was clever. You equip sand. You equip sand. And use it here. Then you run. Then use sand again. Then you run a little quicker this time. Don't jump down the pit. I thought they'd say something, but it doesn't. So as it, just so you can see, I'm going to move these for you. Oh, I'm going to right through. Just more dragons. That was the ill-fated Book 3. Fire. Earth. I said Earth. This is what could have been Book 4 Air if Avatar had gotten a 4th season. Not that it needed a 4th season, but I think we all wanted one. Korra got 4 seasons. But Korra wasn't as tightly structured as the first season was, which is fine. So I'm looking for treasure on the sides of these towers, but it's really just the fire tower that has treasure. In my memory, it's that little treasure that has the soul blade in it. Every time I think about it, it's that little treasure that has the soul blade in it, but it honestly never is. Cyclone. So if you use the wrong cyclone, you go there. And that's annoying. So it's left cyclone first, then the right cyclone. I'm finally learning. What's annoying is that I have to use the left cyclone, push a thing, then go all the way around. Why couldn't they just have me use the left cyclone one time, push the thing into the fire, and then come back around? You can still have your right cyclone puzzle where if I use the right cyclone I fall, but I know that I have to come back and do the right cyclone after this. It's just busy work. You see? I'm here. I did it. Alright, so air temple. You need reveal, you need hover, you need cyclone. Only one you don't need is whirlwind, mysteriously enough. Up, gonna get knocked off. Whirlwind is your first and almost most vital air bending technique. Not to be confused with Shadow Crane Strike. And just catch the fire. Catch them hands. But they don't even have like a little chain swing puzzle. Very rude of them, I must say. Like Cyclone isn't even an official wind synergy. Up. Once again, don't get hit by the dragon flame. Haha, that would suck. Okay, so this is a tough one. This requires timing. You have to run, use reveal. You use reveal right there. If you don't have reveal set, you might struggle. Then you hop off to the side. So yeah, you can just let yourself get hit by the fireball. Takes you straight out. This is it. So I spent a lot of time in this dungeon. Not as much as I spent in the Jupiter Lighthouse, but that's fine. Before you watch the end, I hope you do watch the summon and the Jinn hunt, so you can see where I got all the cool synergy and summons that I'm going to use against that final boss. And I look forward to seeing you there.